Eagles Nation, get up. It is game week. It's game week every week, pretty much, besides our bye week. So that was a stupid intro, but hey, deal with it. It's another early morning here. My weeks, man, they're just not getting any easier. This one was because my wife had family in town. So, I did stay up late to watch Eastern Washington football, but I had to spend a little bit of time with the family in between work. Since I'm working so much, I was not willing to record a podcast right when I got home to chat with the family. So, guess what? It is Thursday, October 7th. It is another very early morning. So, the good news is you guys will have this podcast hopefully by the time a lot of you West Coast guys wake up. But yeah, it's October 7th. That means it is my birthday. So, on the count of three, let's have everyone sing happy birthday to me. One, two, three. I'm just joking. If you guys actually did that in the car or wherever you are listening to this podcast, thank you so much. But please do not sing that for me. You'll look like an idiot by yourself singing. No, man, birthdays aren't that exciting anymore. When you're starting to get older, that just means you're getting closer to being too old to watch football. You're getting closer to pretty much dying. So wow, a little dark humor in the morning. But yeah, guys. Hopefully we get another win this week. That's all I'm requesting for my birthday gift. We're gonna play Northern Colorado. But I hope all of you guys had a good weekend. I hope some of you guys are still excited and still celebrating. For any of you guys who are listening who was at the game, hell of a game. Just watching it on TV in Houston late at night, man, those are the types of games where you really miss the atmosphere. You miss being in Cheney for those types of games for sure. Because guys, I know all of you know this now, but I live in Houston, so I don't get to go to as many Eastern Washington games as I would like. Um, Before COVID, I tried to make it to one a year. Uh, it's not going to happen, at least this year, unless maybe Eastern Washington goes to the national championship game, or maybe we are down in Sam Houston's for a playoff game. Then, of course, I'll go to an Eastern Washington game. But it doesn't look like the next game I'm going to be able to go to is really until Florida, because we have some buddies. We're planning a trip to Florida. Wife's going. So it should be an exciting game. But that's really the next Eastern Washington game I'm going to be able to go to unless, like I said, we make it deep in the playoffs and go to Sam Houston State or the title. So seeing that type of atmosphere on TV, seeing the crowd pumped up, murdered out in all black everywhere, it was so exciting to see. The game atmosphere was electric. You could hear it on TV. You guys sounded amazing. You guys were loud. There was a couple comments on the FCS Fans Nation page where it was like, is this really how loud it gets for only 8,000 students or whatever it was? Yeah, man. For a small stadium, we show up. We end up really, really producing. I know Lawrence Smith. He's that JMU guy who a lot of you guys have probably heard of. Now he lives in Cheney with his amazing wife. Um, he was saying like Eastern Washington, even though it's a much smaller stadium than a lot of FCS schools, he was like, when I would go to CAA games, this is definitely the second most impressive atmosphere outside of James Madison, which of course they have a 26 seat stadium. It's like a Montana's size stadium, and they show up for that game, especially because of how good James Madison is. But he was like, everyone else in the CA, they do not have the same type of atmosphere as an Eastern Washington game. Even if they have a nicer stadium or more fans, he's like, Eastern Washington, there's a difference to it. So it was really cool to see. Of course, we always get up for Montana, but we haven't had Montana come since 2016. So watching that game, it was so exciting to see. I mean, I was nervous before the game, and I don't get really nervous before games. I'm one of those fans who's like, if we lose, we lose. I'm not playing. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just still gonna root for my team. If we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. This was one of those games right when I turn it on, I'm like, oh, I really don't want to lose to Montana. so it was nice to see us, actually play pretty well. We are going to dive a little bit into this game. Just to recap it for maybe some of you who didn't watch. If you didn't watch, shame on you. Shame on you. We're gonna pull that Game of Thrones scene, make you walk down. Let's see, First Ave naked, and we're just gonna be behind you guys going shame, shame, shame. Because shame on you for not watching this game, especially you West Coasters, man. If you can't stay up till what is it, 11:30 at night to watch Eastern Washington, boo, boo. I watched it in Central Standard Time. Brian McLaughlin, who's starting his own, sports FCS covering, he watched it, and he's in Florida, so he was up till 2:30 a.m. watching the game, tweeting it out every second. So if he can watch it, all you West Coasters, you could have watched it too. But yeah, going into the game, this was the highest ranking both of these teams have been when they've played each other. So I mean, collectively, because what we had another top 10 matchup once before. I think it was something like that, but typically it's one team who's right outside the top 10, the other one who's inside. I mean, we've had big matchups before, but never a top 4 versus top 6. So this was really exciting to see. It kind of set the stage for the FCS and the national landscape of things. Montana 3-0 after beating University of Washington. No FCS program beats the University of Washington. Their talent alone is night and day different from the top tiers of the FCS. And the difference is how they beat them out. Sometimes you see these FCS versus FBS games where it's a shootout, or some things are just not going their way. You never see these giant defensive battles really unless you're a North Dakota State. But you never see them holding teams to 7 points. Montana's defense was able to hold them to 7. Um, they are an impressive force on the defensive side of the ball. Then on the flip side, Eastern Washington 4-0 going into this game, putting numbers on every single team we've played. This was one of those games where it was really what's going to bend, what's going to break. You have one of the best defenses versus one of the best offenses. You have a mediocre offense versus a mediocre defense. It was one of those things where the matchup was perfect, and it's still perfect. If this game happens 10 times, give me whoever's the home field. Neutral field, 50-50 game. I have no clue, who's going to win this game if we were playing it multiple times. This is a very evenly matchup, really against the two teams. But yeah, Montana. Let's actually break into the game. Let's kind of start it with really the scoring drive. First play of the game. First drive of the game, let's say. Eastern Washington, of course, gets the ball because we always do. We really want to get the ball. We want to show you we can score. And sorry, I'm just plugging in my headphones in this computer because there's some text messages. So ding. I apologize. Put in the headphones. Probably you won't hear the ding anymore. But yeah, the first drive, we get the ball. This is just something Eastern Washington does because we want to set the tempo. And I think it's risking it a little bit because, especially against a team like this Montana team, where if they get a stop, maybe the whole momentum is shifted from the beginning. But Eastern Washington gets it. It is 12 minutes, 58 seconds into the game, and we are already scoring a touchdown. We went 8 plays, 85 yards in under 2 minutes. Absolutely just dominated that first drive. So we set up 7-0. Then all of a sudden, Griz having quite a bit of stops. They were able to shut us down pretty much most of the half, right? But let's go with the first drive for Montana. Eastern Washington's defense 3-0. Second drive for Montana, Montana 3-0. The defense from Eastern Washington was playing fast. We were playing aggressive. And at the end of the day, we don't have to be world beaters on defense. We have to be good. We don't have to be elite. There was a post from College Sports Journal, pretty good article, and they just kind of reflect around the whole FCS as a landscape. But this journalist from North Dakota State, he replies and he goes, and I don't think he watched the game, just being honest. He probably just looked at the stats and he went, well, this is another game that just showcases why
Montana or Eastern Washington is not going to be able to go deep into the playoffs because they lack defense. What? You tell me you didn't watch the game without telling me you didn't watch the game. Also, tell me you've never heard of Eastern Washington before. Like, tell me which defense was so elite out of our last 11 years that we couldn't go deep in the playoffs. Was it 2010 when we gave up 32 points to a D2 school in Central Washington? Maybe. Was it 2012 when we were giving up like 40 points to, Portland State? Okay. Was it 2013? Same thing. Okay. Was it 2016 when I think we had like a bottom 25 ranked defense in the FCS? Okay. Those were title games and semifinal appearances. Eastern Washington is the exception to the rule. I don't care what anyone says. Eastern Washington make a deep run in the playoffs. We don't have to have a world beater defense, but we have to have a decent defense. We need to have stops, crucial stops. And this is what this defense does. It creates turnovers. We get crucial stops when we need them. And we're going to hold teams to below 30 points. And to me, that's all you need for this formula with this Eastern Washington team. I don't know how many teams are going to be able to hold us under 30. And I don't know many teams that are going to be able to score above 30 on us. Yes, everyone's alluding to that Western Illinois game. Again, tell me you didn't watch the game without watching the game. At halftime, we were looking pretty good. We were up by 30 points, 35 points. We struggled in the first 3 drives of the game. After that, we completely cleaned it up. Now, our offense was scoring within like a minute in every single drive. The defense was out there a lot. When you're not used to 90 degrees and 80% humidity, or maybe it was the opposite, your defense is going to get gassed. And then that's when Western Illinois started to come back, but we were already so far up. Guess what? We still won. So most people are just alluding to that, and they're ignoring all of the other games. Southern Utah held them to 21 points. This Montana's offense held them to 21 points. Central Washington really held them to 7 until the last minute of the game. And then, of course, we gave them a garbage time touchdown. The Central Washington is about as good as a Cal Poly or a Drake or any one of these other really bad FCS teams. And then UNLV, we held them to 20 points at end of regulation. And one of those was a give me because we muffed a punt on our own 10-yard line. Their offense was really only good enough to put up 14 points on us. So I mean, when you're looking at stuff like that, the defense outside of 2 quarters this whole season has played pretty damn good. They're playing good enough to make a deep run in the playoffs. And that's all I really care about. We don't have to be world beaters. We just have to be good enough. But okay, so it is 7-7 or 7-0, and then finally on Montana's third drive, they put together a hell of a drive. 13 plays, 77 yards, took 6 minutes off the clock. Eastern Washington's been punting ever since that first drive because Montana's defense. Let's give props where props are due. They run a 3-3-5 defensive scheme. So for you guys that aren't aware, you have your 3 D linemen, you have your 3 linebackers, then you have 5 DBs, safeties, and all of that in the backfield. That's ready to cover, catches and all of that, which you do need in the Big Sky, especially against playing an Eastern Washington defense or offense. They have a really good scheme against us. I have never seen a D-line this talented, this aggressive, this physical. Now, North Dakota State's D-line, they're just a little bigger. They're not this aggressive. And I know I got in a couple arguments even with some Eastern Washington fans who were like, yeah, they weren't that bad. Look up the points, look up the numbers. Eric Berry had negative 70 rushing yards in the first half. I'm exaggerating a little. It was negative 50 because of all the sacks. He was doing what he normally does, and this almost cost us really the game in a few drives. But he would go back his 10 yards. He sees defensive lines coming at him. Normally he rolls out, and even against North Dakota State, he was able to roll out versus North Dakota State every single time and try and make a play downfield. Scrambling all over the place. Every time he tried to roll out of the pocket and, make a play 10 yards down the field or a deep bomb, another defender was there for Montana. So, he slides to the ground, slips to the ground. He slipped quite a bit this game. I don't know if Montana put some butter on the cleats or something like that, but he was slipping all over the game this week. But the typical play where he's able to roll out and make something out of nothing, he could not do that at all with Montana. So I wish, this was one of those things. If you're having something that, if you're having a game go this way, Eric Verrier, I give you so much praise. You need to throw away that ball. You gave up 50 yards, negative 50 yards that's a big number to overcome. Especially because for the first half, we were driving well. We just couldn't capitalize. Montana's defense was able to shut us down when they needed to. We created some crucial penalties. We were playing a little bit, I don't want to say sloppy, but I think a little emotional coming from Montana coming here. We were amped. We were emotional, but those big sacks from Eric Verrier because he didn't throw away the ball, that hurt us a lot. Maybe we could have put some I don't know, at least field goals on the board, something like that. And then, of course, we did have a big drop, crucial touchdown, really at the beginning of the game. That could have put us up 14-0. But we didn't. We didn't capitalize on some of those. So, Eastern Washington, we are down 14-10 at half. We had a bad interception at the very end of the half, which, of course, that goes on Eric Verrier's record, but that was like a minute left. We were deep in our own. Let's see, what was it? Was it one of those 4th and 40s? 4th and 10. All right, it wasn't that bad, but we tried to make something after nothing, and Eric Verrier threw a bad pass when no one was open, got intercepted. It's whatever. Montana got the ball with on the, I don't even remember what yard line it was, on the 11, 10, something like that, and they just kneeled it because there was 1 second left. They weren't going to try and run a play or anything like that. Then the second quarter, or the third quarter happens. Montana, first drive, electric, touchdown. They went 62 yards in 2 minutes. It was looking like this game could be potentially over. But, 21-10, never count out Eastern Washington. Their defense held us again. Then our defense played lights out, made them punt. Then, this was a bad play by Eric Verrier. He tried to throw a ball, try to force something, and it hit the D line of Montana, intercepted. Montana goes down, and let's see, we have a field goal block. So Montana's in field goal range. We have a field goal block that really shifted momentum. Eastern Washington is a momentum type of team. We scored a touchdown right after that. We forced Montana to punt. We scored a touchdown. Cam throws an interception when we're up. We score another touchdown. And then we punt again. And it was a back and forth game, especially in the second half. But when people say our defense isn't that good, here is the thing. And Montana fans, they were saying this, all week or all the last 3 weeks. If you guys give up that to Western Illinois, guess what we're going to do to you? Your defense is so bad. And I just kept saying, it's not as bad as you guys think it is. Again, it's not world beaters, but it's a pretty good defense. It's one of the better defenses I've seen, like one of the top 3 defenses I've seen from Eastern Washington all last decade. So, again, that's all we need. But Montana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On 8 drives of Montana's, we got them to punt or throw an interception. That is good enough to win a game. We did give up a giant 7 points on special teams. Malik Flowers, I think that's his name. Holy crap. From Montana, he put on the burners. That guy's electric. I don't know why we kick it to him. He's like Shaheed from Weber State. If you kick him the ball, there's a pretty good chance he's going to find the end zone. We can't kick the ball to him. Flowers, kick it over his head, kick it out of bounds, and give up 15 more yards. I don't care. Do not kick it to Flowers if we play Montana again. Also, let this be a lesson to you, Eastern Washington special teams. Don't kick it to Shaheed. Do not kick it to Shaheed. He's going to be able to do that same thing. That might be only where Weber State's going to be able to score. And guess what? They could score 21 points in a game off of just kick returns from Shaheed. So, guys, let's not kick it to them. But, yeah, Eastern Washington 34-28. This was an electric game. Cam Humphreys, a quarterback from from Montana. He's a tough dude. I hope I wish him well. There was a play at the very end of the game. I don't know if most of you guys saw the game, but if you didn't, he tried to get some extra yardage at the very end. He was running. Now there was a Montana fan who's like, he totally slid. He did not slide. If you want to look it up, go look up on YouTube Montana Eastern Washington recap. There's a 5-minute video from the news station who's kind of explaining the recap, and they show this hit. Cam Humphreys did not slide, but he took a huge hit from Sendelbach. And he was down on the ground. He had to get helped up. He left the game. I think, did they say he was carried out on a stretcher, or after the game he was put on a stretcher? I don't know. I wish him the best. I never want to see those types of injuries. But what was kind of nice is after that we got to see their new backup quarterback, Brown. Honestly, I think Montana's in good hands with Brown. I don't want to give Montana too much credit because it seems like it had been with their defensive line and their schemes and all of this. But Brown, man, the last play of the game, Montana had a chance to win it. Our D-line blitzed him. It was one of those things. The pocket completely collapsed. He's scrambling, pulling an Eric Barrier type of play. He's running back 15 yards, over another 10 yards to the sidelines. And then he makes a throw to their tight end, Grossman, I think. Hits him right in the hands. Luckily, Eastern Washington had 3 dudes there on top of him that kind of hit him as well. That could have easily been a catch. I think Brown, as a freshman, he showed he has some talent. You know, he just needs to play the game more. I mean, going from high school to D1, there's a big jump. So he just needs to play the game more, but he looks like he's every bit of talented enough to run that Montana offense. Let's go with some of the players of the game. So let's see here. Let's go Gamecast. Of course, Eric Barrier, 422 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was able to do a lot of things that I don't think any other quarterback's going to be able to do against Montana's defense. Montana's holding teams to, 300 yards a game or less. Maybe it was 280 something before this game. We were able to have about 500 yards. Eric Barrier is a huge reason why. He made some big throws down the field when he needed him to. Again, if he maybe threw away that ball a couple times, we didn't need to make some of those big throws to end the game. But, I mean, he's a stud, absolutely. Dennis Merritt, again, 23 carries, 103 yards, a touchdown. Absolute beast. Dennis Merritt seems like it's a night and day difference from really last year in the spring to this year. I don't know if he's running with a chip on his shoulder or what's up, but he's looking like one of the better running backs we've had in a long time. You know, he's right now how he's running and catching the balls are reminding me of a Sam McPherson, reminding me of a Custer Jr. He's just getting a lot of touchdowns. So that's really nice to see when you have someone in the backfield that you can rely on. And then, of course, Talalo Limu-Jones, hell of a day. 11 receptions, 231 yards. And you were injured in all the fourth. I hope that you come back healthy. I hope it's not that serious. I know we probably aren't going to see you for this Northern Colorado game. But like I was telling to all the guys in the Big Sky conference chat room that we have for the podcast network, you know, like, because some people make comments about how much Limu-Jones drops balls. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's dropped some crucial balls in the last few seasons, right? But overall, what a mismatch on paper. And I mean, in game time, you can see it, especially this year and last year in the spring. When you're 6'4", 220, 225 pounds, fast as hell, you're athletic as hell, I don't know many DBs who are going to be able to cover you, especially at the FCS level. You are P5 size, you're NFL size. I hope you continue to improve. But 11 catches, 231. You were the absolute mismatch on paper. There was nothing you could do, or nothing you couldn't do. Let me rephrase that. There's nothing you couldn't do. You were open. Again, there was that one drop in the beginning, but you redeemed yourself. You're an absolute beast, and we are going to miss you in this next game against Northern Colorado. But I think we're in good hands. But yeah, game ball, I think it goes to you, Jones, because you put us in crucial plays to start taking over. No one. I don't care if it's Montana, North Dakota State, James Madison. No one is going to be able to guard you one-on-one. And the nice thing about that is we have some killers. Efton Chisholm, Andrew Boston. We have Freddie Roberson. We even have Johnny Edwards III. No one is going to – they're going to have to single cover you. I mean, if they're playing in the zone, Eric Berrier is going to find his little holes. If they're playing man-to-man, one of those guys is going to get double covered, and the other guy's going to be open. Good luck trying to guard our wide receiver room. Plus, you have Dennis Merritt, who's in the backfield, and he has 175 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns as well, something around there. So it's one of those things. Pick your poison. Who do you want to guard? But if we are having a hard time getting open, Limu Jones is definitely going to be the guy that's open, and we just have to capitalize and make some good throws to get him the ball and put him in a place where we can actually capitalize him in. But my last comment to Montana, Bobby Houck, your defensive scheme that you brought into this team, that 3-3-5, I already alluded to it a little bit. I don't think anyone's going to be able to prep for this. We don't know when you're blitzing. You are blitzing sometimes 4 guys, sometimes 8, sometimes 5, sometimes 6, and sometimes you're not blitzing at all, and the D-line is still getting through. I haven't seen a defense this fast, this aggressive, at least in a long time. I've seen defenses overpower us, which is a different type of a scenario. But I don't think you guys overpowered us. I think you were just so fast. You were so aggressive, so physical that you're going to cause problems for any FCS team, any Big Sky team. I'm not picking Montana to lose any game besides that Brawl of the Wild is looking pretty good because Montana State is looking fantastic as well. But that is a defense that you guys look really strong. Offensively, there's definitely some things you need to work on. But defensively, I don't know many teams that are going to be able to put 20 points on you. We have the exception because of really our X factor. Eric Berrier is the best quarterback in the FCS, bar none. No one else in the FCS has Eric Berrier. So we're going to see what happens, but Montana, hold your head up high. I mean, that was a hell of a game. You guys are now 0-6 on the red, but whenever we play Montana, it's an electric game. It was before even the last drive, I kind of posted on the FCS Fans Nation. I was like, win or lose, hell of a game, hell of a showcase on ESPN2. Either one of these teams, they have the tools to make a deep run, depending on what happens in the matchups they have. If I am a team, I'm not wanting to go to Missoula and play Montana in December. I'm not wanting to go to Eastern Washington and play on the red field in December, especially when Eric Berrier is now 15-0 on the red. I'm not wanting to play those games. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But the Big Sky overall, I think it looks pretty good. In Montana, you guys look fantastic. Now we're going to go around the Big Sky a little bit, talk about where teams are, where they're ranked, where their standings. So we have, let's see here, Eastern Washington, number 1 in the Big Sky at 5-0, 244 points scored, 152 against. On a 5 game win streak, of course, because we're 5-0. And then we have UC Davis, 5-0 as well, with another FBS win. UC Davis looks really good. They've beaten Weber State. We beat Montana. They had a really close game against Idaho, but as Eastern Washington fans know, Idaho gets up for the big games. They will play some of the top tier in the Big Sky extremely close. They are a very talented roster. They maybe lack the coaching. The UC Davis right now, number 2 in the standings. Montana State has yet to lose to FCS opponent. They're 4-1. They have looked extremely good. Their points differentials from points scored to points against, 183-60. They are the number one team in the Big Sky with that type of points differentials. Now, they have not played the same strength of schedule as an Eastern, UC Davis, a Montana, or a Weaver, but Montana State is doing everything they need to do with the schedule that they're playing against. An elite team from the Big Sky should be able to beat their opponents exactly how Montana State is. Montana State looks the part. The last few years, they've been lacking that special offensive quarterback who's able to, throw the ball around. Doesn't look like they're lacking it this year. I mean, we'll have to wait and see when they start playing a tougher competition. I don't even think they start doing that for 2 or 3 weeks, but once they do, they have a little bit of a gauntlet, and it's a road gauntlet, which kind of sucks for Montana State. They have to go to Weaver, they have to go to Montana, they have to go to Eastern. Eastern and Washington has its own gauntlet, but a lot of it's at home. But yeah, Montana State looks extremely good. Sac State, they are 2-2, 1-0 in the Big Sky. I don't really know what to think about them yet. I think they're the middle tier team. Northern Colorado, 2-3 overall. Their schedule, we'll talk about Northern Colorado in a little bit. Their schedule hasn't been that good. Their offense does not look good at all. Montana, 3-1. Again, we already covered them. Northern Arizona, 2-3. Portland State, 2-3. Weaver State, 2-3. Weaver State has had the toughest 5 weeks so far to start a season, at least in the Big Sky. They played Utah, best FBS team I think anyone from the Big Sky's played. And then they played James Madison, arguably one of the top 2 FCS teams in the country. Then they played UC Davis, arguably one of the top 2 teams in the Big Sky. And yeah, those are their losses. I'm not going to really hold anything negative about Weaver. They're still 134 points scored to 104 given up, and they've played the toughest road. And they've had so many QB injuries. Hopefully Barron comes back because now their third-string quarterback is now injured as well. Idaho 1-3. I don't know what to think about Idaho yet. They've only played 1 game in the FCS or for the FCS level because they had Simon Fraser, a Canadian D2 team who plays in the GNAC or something like that, the Great Northwestern Athletic Conference with Central Washington. And then they played 2 Power 5 teams, Oregon State and Indiana, if I recall. And then they just played UC Davis on the road, extremely tough. They lost by 7 points. Idaho could be really good. They may not be good. I have no clue what to expect. But they are almost out of playoff contention already. Cal Poly, Bo Baldwin, we believe in you. We do not believe in you this year. You have a lot of work cut out for you at Cal Poly. But you are 1-4. You look like one of the worst teams in the FCS. Southern Utah, probably the best 1-4 team in the conference or 1-win team in the conference. Outside of Idaho, maybe. Because I think Idaho might be able to beat Southern Utah. I think that's actually a good game. And then, of course, Idaho State, you look horrible. 0-4. A lot of promise from you in the spring. You are not living up to the hype. I don't know what is going on with that. But Idaho State, you look like you've regressed a lot. And I don't know what that is. But yeah, Idaho State, 0-4, finished dead last on the conference. Okay, that's around the Big Sky. I don't think there's really too many good games this week, so I don't really care to review them. But we're going to have some really good games coming up. Now let's go look at the Northern Colorado Bears. Okay, so this is a team probably not a lot of Eastern fans really know much about because of how bad they've been in the Big Sky, right? You typically don't follow bad Big Sky teams. I'm going to take a sip of water. But they got rid of their coach, Ernest. I forgot his last name. Or what was that his last name? I don't know. But they got rid of their coach, Ernest, who was averaging like 2 wins a season. And they got McCaffrey. I've said it a couple times on this podcast, but if you guys do not know, Ed McCaffrey, he's probably one of the great Broncos in history. Maybe outside of a Sharp or an Elway, but he's one of the great Broncos in history. His son is Christian McCaffrey. He's trying to turn that program around. First-year coach, only has high school coaching experience. And, I mean, we're seeing some type of culture shift. But when we dive into their schedule, Northern Colorado is about what I thought they would be. They lost to Colorado, and they didn't look bad in it. They lost to FBS P5 Colorado 35-7. I was like, all right, that's better than I thought. And then game 2, they played Houston Baptist. They won 45-13. I thought they would beat Houston Baptist, but I didn't think it was going to be that big of a blowout. And then all of a sudden, they play Lamar, a really bad, is it AQ17 now or Southland? I don't remember. But they lost 17-10. Then they played NAU the next week and won in overtime 17-10, and NAU looked horrible as well. This was the first good FCS team they played. They played at Montana State. Tough environment to play. Montana State absolutely did whatever they wanted to them. Montana State won 40-0. When you're looking at some of the statistics, so they have a quarterback, Dylan McCaffrey. If you guys aren't familiar with Dylan McCaffrey, it's Ed McCaffrey's son, Christian McCaffrey's brother. He is their quarterback. He was a transfer out of Michigan. I think he was a 4-star, maybe 5-star. But so far in the season, he does not look good. 59% completions, only 597 yards to 600 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Nothing impressive about McCaffrey right now. It doesn't look like he can throw down the field. He's throwing only an average of 4.9 yards a game. And again, like, to show a difference now, it's not fair to compare him to an Eric Berrier. But when you're looking at a difference on Eric Berrier versus Dylan McCaffrey, 2,120 yards. He's throwing an average of 10 yards, 67% completion, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. McCaffrey does not look like he's in the same caliber of an Eric Berrier. Their running game hasn't been awful. Sledge Jr., he looks like he's a pretty good back. He's, rushed for 242 yards, 2 touchdowns. Overall, I don't know. I think we just absolutely, on paper, match up extremely well against Northern Colorado. Cassidy Woods looks like their number 1 wide receiver. I think he was a Washington State transfer, if I'm correct. But he's got, Limu Jones size. He's 6'4", 225. He's a very athletic kid. 24 receptions, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. The only thing about him, compared to like a Limu Jones, I don't think Cassidy has the quarterback to get him down the field. I don't think Northern Colorado has the line to really block him enough to have Cassidy get that open. But he looks like he's an absolute beast. He's probably going to be a mismatch for us. He's going to be pretty tough. But this game, I don't know much really to say about Northern Colorado, unfortunately. Like, I wanted to do a giant game preview, but they don't look that good. Instead, we're going to focus on a negative. So, another McCaffrey. So, this is the son. I think he's Max McCaffrey. He's an offensive coordinator. He was pretty frustrated with Montana State's fan base. I guess someone was heckling him or something like that. So he ended up throwing his clipboard, his play clipboard, into the stands, and he hit a guy. The Griz fan podcast, or Montana Mint, maybe it's Montana Mints, they're actually going to be interviewing the kid who got hit. So Max McCaffrey, he's going to have some type of punishment. I don't know if he's going to be in this game or if he has to sit out or if he's just fined. I have no clue what it's going to be, but yeah, we'll see. But that's like the only highlight from Northern Colorado I've seen all year. It is someone who is willing to throw a clipboard into the stands. So, Eastern fans, if you are showing up, wear your safety glasses, wear your hard hats. There is a chance you may get hit. But just joking. If you Northern Colorado Bears fans are watching this, I'm just joking. I don't think he's going to do that twice because he got in trouble. But yeah, Northern Colorado, I like what they're trying to do with the program. That program needed to be turned around for a long time. And Northern Colorado, they were a solid D2 program. They have great athletics across the board outside of football. So this is just something they need to change the culture. They need to get a better coach in there. And so far, they've at least put an electric coach. I don't know if they've brought in a better coach, but they at least have a coach who has a different mindset. He wants to win. He wants to change the culture. He got quite a bit of transfers in there, some big-time players. They just haven't produced on the field yet, but that also could be he's never coached college football. He's very new to the college, coaching, or I guess just new in general, the coaching in general. I don't think he's even coached that many years in high school football. I think it was only 1 year or 2 years, and of course he was successful, but I don't know if that translates to Division I football. So we'll have to see. But overall, I think Northern Colorado is on the right track to at least not be a bottom feeder in the FCS. I think they can turn some things around, but they also got a brutal schedule coming up. Eastern Washington, UC Davis, Sac State, Montana, Weber. Their only game that they have an opportunity to win is going to be Sac State or Southern Utah in the next 6 weeks. I'm not giving Northern Colorado a good chance to win those. I predicted them to go 2-9 on the season, and I think it's going to be 2-9. The more I look at it, the more I see kind of a 2-9 schedule. My score prediction, I think the betting odds have us as a 20-point favorite. I'm not sure if we're going to cover. The reason why is not because Northern Colorado is good or Eastern Washington is bad. We are coming off a very emotional game. Montana, very emotional. Next week, we are playing Idaho, who has played us very well. They seem to get up for these rivalry games. We may be overlooking Northern Colorado, not to the extent that they're going to win. I just don't think they have the pieces there and the coaching there to beat us. But I don't think we are going to go in there and absolutely blow the doors off them. We totally can. But also, Greeley's a spooky place to play. I know Chris Hammond says that word all the time, spooky. It's a bring your own energy game. Now, this is homecoming for Northern Colorado, so maybe they'll have more energy. Chris Hammond kind of alluded on the Tubs of the Club. I think this was his exact words. Why the hell would you schedule Eastern Washington for a homecoming game? Are you stupid? Those are supposed to be games you can win. What are you, Northern Colorado grad or a Raiders fan? Like you just tore into them. But yeah, it's it is what it is. Give them a little bit of props. They wanted the most fans to come for one of their biggest games at home, and that biggest game at home, in my opinion, is going to be Eastern Washington or Weber State. So they want as many teams as possible. Actually, Weber State is away, so it's either Montana in November or Eastern Washington now to get as many fans as the stadium. I think they picked the right game. I think Eastern Washington wins, but I don't think we covered maybe we covered the 20 points. We will be without Lima Jones, so that is a big miss, but we got another 4 wide receivers who are totally capable of putting up big numbers against Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado will probably be the worst offense we have played all year, so we'll kind of have to see how that goes. But maybe also they're just getting in a rhythm. Maybe they're just still learning the playbook. I have no clue. I would guess Eastern Washington probably wins 42-21. Probably 42-21. That's my score prediction. I think we're going to overlook them a little bit. I don't think we're going to come out with the same energy. I bet you they score pretty fast early. And then, we're able to finally get into a rhythm defensively and, play much better. But this is not going to be one of those games where we come in super hyped up after this giant emotional win against Montana with an electric field, electric atmosphere. Now we're going to go into Northern Colorado. That's probably going to be fairly quiet. I have no clue. Maybe they'll be sold out. That'd be pretty sweet, having the number 4 team come to them sold out. But I don't think Northern Colorado has the pieces to beat us. But who knows? We have lost these types of games before. It's been pretty rare, but every now and then, big teams lose. When North Dakota State was on their 30-game win streak, they lost to, Indiana State, who at the time was just horrible. So stuff like this happens all the time. But yeah, hopefully we capitalize. Hopefully we play how we can. But yeah, Eastern Washington wins 42-21. Which will put us at 6-0, which is right in my preseason prediction so far. I predicted us to go 9-2, but start the season with an undefeated streak until we play MSU. So, that's kind of where we're at right now, and we'll see if that preseason prediction is right or if I'm going to change my mind. But, yeah, go Eags. Boom. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and hopefully we destroy Northern Colorado Bears. Sorry, McCaffreys. I like your son. I like everything about the name. I like what you're doing with the program so far, trying to make it electric. But I hope we absolutely destroy you. You can go beat Montana in a few weeks, but I hope we absolutely destroy you. Okay, go Eags. Boom.